Our feelings matter a lot. Does that mean we should be out here acting on every single one? Probably not a good idea. However, being aware of how we feel brings us a lot of personal power. I am Tavish Carduff. It is our Raw Materials Emotion Week, so let's dig into the pillar of emotion. This relationship is a tough one. With emotions, we tend to do our best to avoid them or save them for a time where they're more appropriate or make space for them when we are alone and by ourselves. And processing emotions in real time isn't something that we are really in the habit of doing. But I would like to encourage us to begin doing that. And that doesn't mean we throw a tantrum everywhere that we are, but that we start connecting the dots to our own emotional roots. This is the fifth pillar, and so it's the first one in the middle. And the first four are the rawest of our raw material. We find out who taught us what we were taught early on, what makes us feel connected outside of ourselves, what our mental state is kind of set up like, and the relationship that we have to things that we don't know. All of that produces emotion. Every one of those first four pillars produces the stuff that makes us feel ashamed, embarrassed, excited. The things that we like and the things that we don't like are all attached to the relationships with those first four pillars. So when we get to emotion, we start to see how we feel about our own raw material and about the way that we fit in the world, interact in the world, and how other people are with us. So that can change on any given day. Checking in on how we feel emotionally should really be as simple as checking in on the daily weather. And that sounds funny, but I'm serious. We have the ability to be in touch all the time with when something gets said or brought before us, to know how we actually feel about it. And our responses are always something about the thing itself, not about how we feel about it. And that's a habituated, trained pattern. We've gotten used to it over time, and that running from our emotions has really become a thing that is not only encouraged, but kind of lauded. I mean, if you can keep your emotions in check, if you can not be emotional and restrain from sharing how you feel, then somehow that makes you stronger or better as a human being, or at least that has been the prevailing idea in the past. I would like to change that on its ear. I really would, because our emotions are the quickest way to know what's going on with us, what's going on with our body. This is part of our sympathetic nervous system. This is attached to our body in ways that send signals to everything else, so it knows how to work and knows how to respond. Just our face knows how to do what it does in response. A positive trigger is going to, create a smile, and a negative trigger is going to create a face that we don't like so much. When we take a breath, when we look at, oh, that's how it hit me, kind of like a wave, we start to see what our response is. This is our own personal relationship to the thing that we just learned. It's a feeling. And somebody next to us might have a completely different response. They hit a different wave with it. And at our raw material, that is the imagery we use for emotion. I don't really know why we need any other, because if you're standing at the edge of the ocean, letting a wave crash at you, letting an emotion hit you, you can't stand rigidly and just let it go. Or you can let it go a couple times, but by a few waves in, if you don't start adjusting your footing, and if you don't start shifting the way that you're holding yourself, you're going to get knocked over. And that is how emotions work, and that is how our emotional system works. It is in place to help us clear our body when we need to, breathe when we need to, recognize when we're, constricted and holding our breath and probably bothered or triggered in a negative way. Same thing, when we get exuberant, we get really free with our body, and we take in deep breaths, and we'll kind of even dance around, encouraging deeper breathing. So notice the way that we naturally stir ourselves up or bring ourselves down physically in response to emotion, even though we don't connect that to a behavior that we are trying to do or that we want to do. Paying attention to how we feel and our emotions is not only beneficial to us, it's more fun to be that way. And I think it's going to take some convincing people actually trying it to believe me on that. But when you get to live wholly in the way that you feel, and when it's present with you, not only are you more able to handle whatever comes your way, you're able to hold space for others to do the same. And that is one of the coolest feelings there are. Like, it's like when you're riding in the car and somebody next to you is freaking out, and instead of getting bothered by them, you say, hey, looks like you're in a rush. You go right ahead. No worries here. And you mean it. And it feels good to give someone the grace to just let them freak out if that's what they need to do, because our emotions do drive us. And we've got a whole bunch of people trying not to be emotional. So we are pulling back our drive, and we are creating all kinds of distortions in recognizing how we actually feel about anything. This week's practice guidance is a game. So the game is, first for yourself, what's triggering me? And when you see your body respond tensely, or just see your body respond in any way to anything, notice what it is that's affecting you. Notice what has made a difference. So what's triggering me? When you know the things that are triggering you, then look around and see what's triggering somebody else. And just noticing, like watching people's faces and seeing when they get bothered by something is really interesting. And then you can start to recognize body language. Even if you don't know anything about body language, you start to learn, just like in poker, people's tells. They start to have ways that they don't connect in their body. And we all do it, every one of us in a human body, unless we're walking around just acutely emotionally aware. And, there's a lot of talking about emotional intelligence right now. I think having emotional intelligence is not only knowing your own triggers, but being aware when they are created in someone else. It's not knowing what will create the trigger, because honestly, we can't. And I think the definition of emotional intelligence gets confusing right here. We have an expectation that other people should know what's going to bother or what's going to trigger other people in a negative way. And I think that is an unfair ask. I think if people are able to walk around honestly stating what bothers and triggers them, or being aware of it, and then are given the grace to address it in real time, then we start to see some ground where we're changing ourselves and we're shifting into more accepting beings. But for now, accepting our own emotion is challenging enough. So let's stick to that, and just noticing where we can back off a little bit, noticing where we can make things just slightly more free and open within our bodies. Let yourself feel what you feel. I know for me, there's only a few things that really truly bother me, but a lot of things happen in a day that might, just a little vibration of trigger on it. And when I recognize, these sorts of behaviors hit my deep triggers, it's not really the thing that happened. It's not the person who annoyed me or bothered me that's the problem. They didn't do anything. It's my reaction, and it's my noticing, here's one of those things that bothers me, so let me attend to myself. And I know I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot, but I think it's important to repetitively drive home this message about emotions, because we can't take it in intellectually. Our feelings are not intellectual, and we have tried and tried and tried to make them that, but they're never going to be, and we're never going to be truly successful that way. And the people that have tried to make that be a measure of success, I think we're seeing that pendulum has kind of hit its crescendo, and that view is on the way down. So let's gather together in emotion this week and look for the connection and meaning and patterns in the ways that we feel. Start looking at the things that trigger or bother you, and what kind of smaller base things they are overall. Play around with watching emotion, whether it's, on television or something you're streaming, your friends, your family. Just keep a closer eye on feelings and be your own weatherman. I'm Tavish Carduff. Thanks for being here. I'll be back next week to talk about listening. We'll get into the second spiritual pillar. And until then, be present with how you feel. Take care of your heart. Take care of your mind. Take care of your body. Breathe around anything that feels like too much. Thank you.